Hi everyone, it's Four Corners, and recently I rewatched Hands of Time to figure out why it ends up being the worst season in Ninjago's entire run. To a certain fan demographic, it was so terrible they just left the show after watching this season. And personally, to me, it's very forgettable. Events in the season keep slipping out of mind. The synopsis of the season is that these ancient elemental masters were stripped of their powers and sent through a time portal. 40 years later, both of them are back together after escaping the portal at different years and seek the blades in which their power was extracted and placed in. This leads to the bulk of the season's runtime as the ninja try to retrieve the time blades before the time twins do. But ultimately, the time twins get all the blades to travel to the past and reverse their ultimate loss. Unfortunately for them, Kai and Nia, with their fusion dragon powers brought to awareness by their reunited parents, are able to thwart this. A common criticism I see with the season is that it's a time travel plot, and those are generally risky and very hit or miss from a writing perspective. However, as I narrowed the problems down, I realized time travel was only really a big part in the first and finale episodes. And as far as I'm concerned, the very first scene with Acronix finally making it to present time, and the finale where Kai and Nia traveled to the past as the young Krux and Acronix were originally defeated by Wu and Garmadon with the help of the other elemental masters, were actually the more tolerable parts of the season. So the problem wasn't in the time traveling bits of the story being the beginning and end. It had to do with the main bulk of the season being everything in the middle. In my summary of the season earlier, most of the time I spent went into describing the intro and finale because the middle is written in a way that it really doesn't matter, which is a clear red flag since that's literally 70% of the season, and that's also why I believe the season keeps slipping out of my mind. For starters, the problem lay in the canny animation looking overly glossy at times, and some of the fight scenes, especially when involving time blades, were very choppy. The time blades being so overpowered and vague didn't help the believability of the fights one bit. The rules to how long they took to recharge and to what effect they could be used were very unclear and changed to match the situation. Towards the end, there comes a fight with all the time blades between Kai, Nia, Wu, Rei, and Maya, and the villains on the Time Twins hovercraft. And it's clear nobody making the show knew how to handle so much time power in one fight, because what we got was clunky and boring in terms of choreography and relied on everyone waiting on each other to attack. Not to mention, vehicle animation was a weak point as well. Just look at this desert chase scene. Here we have a very awkward moving Cole's rock rotor. Generally, it felt like there was no animation director for this season to oversee and mesh everyone's work. Another issue was the dialogue. I'm pretty sure this is a result of the odd-looking movement animation, but the things the ninja were saying didn't feel natural at all. It's something that I've never felt with Ninjago before. It's a problem in the middle episodes because with the intro and finale, at least you're distracted by the plot, but here that's all you notice since the plot isn't anything too captivating with the ninja seeking the time blade. Check out this scene where Kai and Nia literally call out to each other as brother and sister as they fight the time twins in the Museum of Ninjago history.
I could really use a hand, brother!
I'm here for you, sister!
I'm pretty sure the intended tone was a lot more epic than how it translated to screen. This awkwardness might be due to the introduction of new writers to the Ninjago team. There's a chance they still hadn't gotten comfortable in the Ninjago writing room, this being their first season and all, but the point still stands. And just before, I mentioned how the main plot of the season wasn't captivating. It's because so many events in these episodes leading to the finale were the product of silly mistakes. Wu fighting Krux alone in the monastery to finish a 40-year-old battle was okay, as we can pass that for a character flaw, but in another scene on top of the Temple of Airjitzu, seconds after the victory of an intense battle with the Vermilion, Lloyd literally holds the time blades in the air and lets them get snatched by this relatively normal speeding General Makia in the sky, and this unfortunately ended up being a major turning point for the season. Honestly, to me, it feels like a very lazy effort to move the plot. Keep in mind, all the ninja are around Lloyd cheering right now. A kid on the street like Lil Nelson could make that mistake, but not someone who's been fighting evil for years. The previous season, Skybound suffered from this silly mistake writing a little, but it was in a very forgivable way there. Another example of lazy writing driving the plot is the way the ninja get the slow-mo time blade. It's only thanks to the commanders Blunk and Ragmonk having a petty argument over their lack of eligibility to be commanders in the first place. I'm all for comedy in the villains, but when that comedy comes at the expense of the story, how am I supposed to take the story seriously? These two commanders are literally the main villains for a while as the Time Twins take a backseat, which isn't what I'm here to see. And all this is why the season is worse than something like Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, because while the concept is a little weak with all the filler episodes, at least they execute what they did very nicely, with flashy animation, natural characters, and plots moved by decisions that make sense. You still have the sense that it's our same team, just a boring adventure, in contrast to Hands of Time, where the team and characters feel so alien and weird, with the plot moved by trivial things that the potentially amazing plot involving time blades and time travel is taken down with it. A few final things is the season feels claustrophobic for some reason I can't put my finger on. It spanned through the entirety of Ninjago Island, going from desert to underground sewer system to boiling sea, but it all felt so enclosed, which is weird because I never even felt that with a season like Master of the Mountain, where the whole thing literally took place in one mountain. I also couldn't care much for the Master Lloyd character arc, and while I do like Pixal Samurai X, the way it was introduced was something I couldn't care for, especially when it brought out action scenes like a car driving on the wall at medium speeds, which looked really goofy. The whole mid-season seemed to have played it way too safe with the plot that was supposed to be more ambitious than anything we'd seen before, and it didn't even do that right. But in the end, to put it simply, Hands of Time was an empty shell and proves that cool powers and bad guys aren't enough to make an action TV show. The recipe involves stakes, natural characters, and a whole lot more to make the final dish good. I'm glad Ninjago went down a completely different path in quality, with its following season being Sons of Garmadon. And honestly, this is why I'm very excited for the possibilities the Time Twins could return in Ninjago's future, as the writers have definitely upped their game, and I think alongside the amazing animation company Ninjago has now, being Wild Brain Studios, this concept could be executed the amazing way it should have been. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching till the end, and as usual, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.